What up YouTube, SpikeWorld here with another video, and this time it's part 5 of me reviewing every Looney Tunes cartoon. I don't really have much to say, let's just get to it. The Wisecracking Duck. This is actually a pretty fucking good cartoon. It's about Daffy fucking around with a guy trying to cook him. It has some pretty good slapstick and some really damn good energy. Daffy is just breaking a bunch of shit in the house and just causing mayhem. The most memorable part is when Daffy acts like a woman and does a striptease. But the part when he kisses and bites the man's nose is up there too. Definitely worth checking out. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Greetings, Bait. This one is not that great. It revolves around a worm being pulled down by a fisherman and having an adventure in the sea. I actually like this idea. However, the cartoon is kind of boring. There really isn't a whole lot of good gags. Also, I don't know what the worm's goal even is. Because of that, it's hard to get invested in it. However, the thing that pisses me off the most is that the worm is about to fight a crab, but he says, "For the faint-hearted, we are going to cut away." That is beyond fucking lame. Slapstick doesn't work if you can't see it. Besides, fuck censorship. Anyway, I don't hate this cartoon, but it's still not really that great. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Tokyo Jokyo. This is a cartoon I don't even know how to critique. Do I look at it as a comedy cartoon? Well, I can tell you that most of the jokes are not very funny. Do I judge it by its intended purpose? Well, it more or less serves its purpose, but that purpose is highly questionable at the very, very best. Do I judge it as a war propaganda cartoon? Well, I believe a good propaganda cartoon should be at least decently researched and take the other side of the argument into consideration. But this cartoon fucking fails at both. Ignoring the exaggerated Japanese accents, there's a bunch of Chinese music used in there, which I've heard traditional Japanese music and it sounds nothing like Chinese music, or at least it sounds nothing like the music they play in the cartoon. I'm not even going to disagree with that the Japanese were horrible back then. But they were horrible, but not for the reasons this cartoon provides. Also, the Admiral Yamamoto joke could have been cathartic at the time if it weren't for the fact that Admiral Yamamoto was dead by the time this cartoon came out, so it fucking fails. The only joke that I thought was kind of clever was the Minesweeper joke, but even then, it could have been a little bit better. So, I can only really see this working as a historical artifact to be archived. Other than that, there's really no reason to go out of your way to watch it. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. Jack Rabbit and the Beanstalk. This is a pretty decent Bugs cartoon. This time Bugs deals with a dumb giant man. The part when Bugs gives the giant a fair fight is interesting. Bugs says he's smarter than that man when he tells him to walk 20 steps. However, Bugs' plan backfires when the giant ends up walking towards the opposite direction he was going, and walking towards Bugs. So Bugs is not as smart as he thinks he is. Clever gag, by the way. Even though I'm not the biggest fan of the eardrum gag, the part when Bugs is walking on the giant's face is interesting. I will say most of the jokes at the end are decent. The ending when the giant falls is pretty good. Not one of the greatest, but still worth checking out. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Aristocat. So this is the first appearance of 3 characters. They are Claude Cat and Hubie and Bertie. Although Claude has a different design than what we're used to. This cartoon tries to make Claude look like a bad character, but he doesn't really do anything bad other than play a trick on Meadows. Apparently the rest of the cartoon is him going through absolute fucking misery. Huey and Bertie take advantage of Claude's naivety, and it makes them look like total scummy bastards. I don't even know who to root for. I guess if you like your cartoons really fucking cruel, you might like this, but this one is too mean-spirited even for me. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of We're Okay but Lack Staying Power. Yankee Doodle Daffy. This is not what I expected, but it's still pretty damn good. This one is about Porky coming into the actor's room and Daffy performing a bunch of vaudeville-style segments in front of him. You would think these would be fucking annoying, but actually these are really charming, so you don't even care. Even as Porky tries to leave, Daffy still manages to make these really entertaining. But the ending gag is the right kind of sloppy. I was expecting a patriotic cartoon, and to be fair, there's a little bit of that in here. But what I got instead was still pretty fucking good. So overall, I can't complain. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Waikiki Wabbit. This is actually a pretty fucking good one. It's about two men who are really hungry. However, they get trapped on an island with bugs. Once they find them, they plan on eating them. What the hell is with men wanting to eat rabbits? Was that a thing back then to eat rabbit stew or something? Anyway, the gag with them singing, "We're gonna eat some rabbit," and Bugs sings along until he realizes they're talking about him is hilarious. There's even a little bit of slapstick, and it is heavily implied that the men are considering eating each other, which is really fucking dark when you think about it. But yeah, this one I recommend. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Porky's Big Feet. This is actually a pretty fucking good cartoon. It is about Porky and Daffy owing a ridiculous amount of money to the Broken Arms Hotel. The bad news is that Daffy has no money, but it actually leads to some pretty hilarious attempts to get away from the manager. The gags in here are fucking great and have some really good energy. There is some slapstick. I also do like the reactions Daffy has when he sees a sexy pinup girl. The part when the manager falls down the steps is a really great moment. And so is the part when he makes the same sound effects to trick them into thinking he fell down. The ending is kind of a downer despite the cameo from Bugs, but I don't really know how else you could end this cartoon. But overall, an enjoyable cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Tin Pan Alley Cats. Another one in the censored 11. Although like Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs, this one is not really that offensive. In fact, this is probably one of the tamer ones when it comes to racism. Although this time I'm not so sure this was intended as a love letter to jazz culture. I mean, it does have some good rhythm. I even like some of the characters that look like cats. There are some good jokes in here too. Not as funny as the other cartoon, but kind of amusing. The biggest problem I have with this cartoon is the plot. It is about a cat who is warned by a preacher to not go to the jazz club and be tempted by wine, women, and all that fun shit. Of course, he goes to the club, but after his little adventure in some fucking weird land, he runs out of the bar and sings with the religious cats. I don't really like this ending. While there are some good elements, they just don't really cancel out the ending. And considering we got a good one with Coal Black and the Seven Dwarfs, I'm severely disappointed with this one. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay but Lacks Staying Power. Scrap Happy Daffy. This is another war propaganda cartoon. But this is the first one with Daffy Duck. But it is pretty fucking good. Sure, it starts out a little bit slow with Daffy just chilling in the scrapyard, but I really do like the song he sings. I love it when he whistles at a girl in lingerie. But the Nazi plot soon comes into play, and Hitler sends a goat to destroy the junkyard. Pretty clever. The fight between Daffy and the goat is pretty fucking entertaining. I really do like it when the American ducks from the wars of the past sing to Daffy to not give up, because Americans don't give up. This prompts Daffy to become a superhero, and it is a pretty damn good ending. It's a pretty damn good cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Hiss and Make Up. This is a cartoon about a dog and a cat fighting endlessly, but the old lady that is the owner has had enough and wants them to kiss and make up. She also tells them that if she sees them fighting again, she will throw them out. The only problem is that the dog and the cat are trying to get each other in trouble. There's some decent slapstick in here, and the old lady's voice is hilarious. I'm not as big a fan of the story, mainly because I think framing someone is kind of cruel, but it does have a pretty damn good ending. Not my absolute favorite, but still decent. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Corny Concerto. This is my favorite of the classical music-based cartoons so far. This time Elmer conducts an orchestra and uses two pieces, one from Johannes Brahms and the Blue Debut. Both are great fucking choices. Also, unlike Pigs in a Polka, the jokes are actually really fucking good. There is plenty of slapstick with Bugs and the Hunter and the dog. There's not quite as much in the part with the ducks, but it still has some nice rhythm, and the gag with the duck quacking along to the piece is amusing. The ending gag with the villainous bird getting blown up is so damn good and really dark. Overall, a good cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Finn and Caddy. This one is not quite as good as the last one, but there are still some things to like about it. I really do like how the only dialogue you hear in the cartoon is from the documentary-style narrator in the beginning and end of the short. I think that is a fucking nice touch. I will admit, most of the gags are not really that great. Claude is still a little too likable to deserve the torment from the fish. However, I really fucking love the ending gag. It shows Claude sleeping in the fish bowl. There are better cartoons out there, but this one ain't too bad. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Falling Hair. This one is okay. It's about Bugs being tormented by a gremlin. If I were tormented by that fucking thing, I would absolutely smash him. I will admit though, I would have liked to see Bugs actually smash him. But there is some slapstick in here too. We don't actually see the bomb that the gremlin is trying to blow up, which was a missed opportunity. The joke with the plane almost crashing into the two towers apart from each other has definitely aged poorly, but overall, it's still not a bad cartoon. The ending gag with the plane spinning are pretty damn good. Not my favorite, but still not too bad. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Inky and the Mina Bird. This is just another typical Inky cartoon. Really boring gags, making the line more sympathetic than Inky. Some nice animation and music, and of course no dialogue. The teeth gags are just fucking disturbing and not even funny. I guess it is interesting that this is the first cartoon to feature this sound. But other than that, there's nothing worth mentioning. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Daffy the Commando. This is a fucking great cartoon. Not only is it a good war propaganda cartoon, but it is a fantastic Daffy cartoon. It has Daffy going in to fight the Nazis and just fucking their shit up. It has really fucking great slapstick, including a running gag with the Nazi duck hitting the assistant on the head with a hammer. I also really fucking dig the war action. Daffy's laugh never fails to make me smile. But the ending gag with Daffy hitting Hitler on the head with a hammer is so damn good. And cathartic. That is way more punishment than Hitler got in real life, unfortunately. Really fucking great cartoon. Rating 5 out of 5 stars with the title of Epic. An Itch in Time. This is another one I'm kind of mixed on. It is about a dog being tormented by a flea. The flea has a really fucking annoying voice, both when he speaks and sings. Elmer is the owner of the dog and tells him if he scratches again, he is getting a bath. Dogs don't like baths. But it is cruel just to punish him for scratching. Dogs scratch all the time. But this cartoon might actually agree with me because it shows the pain of not being able to scratch. But in the end, Elmer and the dog get a sponge bath, and we get another one of the now I've seen everything joke. A fucking weird ending, but at least Elmer gets punished. It's decent. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Puss in Booty. This is the last Looney Tunes cartoon to be in black and white. But is it actually good? Well, it's about a cat that is absurdly unlikable. He deliberately lies to his owner about eating canaries and begs her to get another one. That cat is actually a scummy bastard. The slapstick shenanigans he is subjected to are actually deserved. So, sure, I would have liked more of it, but for what it's worth, they actually managed to make an actually despicable cat. They really haven't done that yet. So that's why I enjoyed this one a little bit more than the Aristocat. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Little Red Riding Rabbit. This one is kind of entertaining. Now, I wouldn't say this is the best Bugs cartoon, but it still has its moments. It starts with Red Riding Hood carrying Bugs in her lunch basket, and of course, the wolf disguises himself as her grandma. But once Riding Hood is all like, "What big eyes you've got," the wolf is like, yeah, get the fuck out. I actually kind of like this because, as I made it known, I don't actually like the Red Riding Hood story. But here's the thing. The ending makes me thoroughly convinced that the cartoon agrees with me because it has Red Riding Hood having to suffer carrying all the heavy shit that Bugs forced the wolf to hold. Admittedly, I would have liked there to be more slapstick, but once Bugs chases the wolf, it's pretty funny at times. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. What's Cookin', Doc? This is an interesting cartoon. Yeah, it kind of feels like Looney Tunes being bitter towards not winning a whole bunch of Oscars. But here's the thing. The Oscars are so homogenized and narrow-minded that it could almost be a commentary on that. This cartoon in many ways is ahead of its time. I also think that when Bugs is all like, "I deserve an Oscar," he does show a clip from one of his actually good cartoons, which is Hiawatha's Rabbit Hunt. So he does make a damn good case for himself. The ending gag when Bugs gets a booby Oscar trophy is hilarious. So this one is a lot better than I thought it would be. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Meatless Fly Day. This one is not that great. The running gag with the bug chasing the fly throughout the cartoon, laughing constantly, could have been funny. That is, if his laugh was funny, but it's not. At one point, he calls the fly a poor man's Bugs Bunny. I actually have to agree with him. In fact, this whole cartoon feels like a poor man's Merry Melodies cartoon. I do like the dynamite gag and the neon light gag. Those are the best gags in the cartoon. However, the ending gag is pretty goddamn bizarre. I guess it is a reference to the fact that there was a shortage of meat at the time, but it comes right the fuck out of nowhere, and it is a lackluster way of ending the short. So yeah, not one of the better ones. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Tom, Turk, and Daffy. This is actually a damn good cartoon. It is the perfect one to watch on Thanksgiving. If you ignore the snow, that is. Daffy promises to protect a turkey, but once Porky tries to hunt the turkey, things get chaotic. I love how Daffy internally struggles with protecting the turkey and having an enjoyable dinner with Porky. The funniest part is that yams is what gets Daffy to hunt the turkey. But that plan is dropped when the turkey puts a tail on Daffy and Porky mistakes him for a turkey. There's some pretty fucking good slapstick in here. And I like how the ending punchline is sort of a role reversal of the first scene. Overall, a good cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Bugs Bunny and the Three Bears. This one I'm not quite sure about. The first half of the cartoon, I've got to be honest, is not that great. I didn't really laugh at much of these jokes. When Bugs entered the cartoon, I found it a little bit better. There's a decent gag of the bears jumping onto and beating up in a bed, thinking that Bugs is on it. But the running gag with Mama Bear falling in love with Bugs is because he says her eyes are amazing. I found this one uncomfortable, mainly because the Mama Bear comes off as kind of rapey. Bugs didn't really want her. He only said that to get out of being chased by the bears. I may piss some people off with this review, but I didn't care for this one. It's not horrible, but it's still not great. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. I Got Plenty of Mutton. This is not a bad cartoon. I like how the first 5 minutes are completely without dialogue. It just has the wolf sitting in his house. But once the cartoon gets to the wolf trying to join the army with the ox chasing him, the energy starts to pick up a little bit. Immediately the story is a bit confusing, and there's not a whole lot of slapstick, but the last portion is pretty entertaining, and there's some hilarious voice acting with and energy. Not my personal favorite, but not too bad. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. The Weekly Reporter. This is a compilation of gags revolving around life in America during World War II. Gotta be honest, most of these are not that funny. I don't find them offensive or anything, they're just kinda confusing and weird. Now, I do like the meat-related jokes. I thought the gag revolving around coffee was pretty damn good. Maybe it's better that we had a shortage of coffee because it made us not be able to sleep. I also think it is interesting that the cartoon makes the point that women actually did have an important role during the war and even joined the army. Not in combat, but they did join the army. But other than that, I feel like there are better gag compilations out there than this one. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. TikTok Tuckered. This is basically a colored remake of Porky's Bad Time Story. The only other difference is that Daffy is in it instead of Gabby. But this is still a really fucking good one. While Daffy doesn't have a lot to do, I really do like the part when he shoots the moon and then says, unbelievable, isn't it? The bit with the Niagara Falls is also really fucking good. But so is the ending punchline, which is directly lifted from the original. But it adds Porky shooting the goddamn clock, which is a fucking nice touch. Honestly, it's kind of hard to pick which one is better, but I will say if you really want to see Porky's Bad Time Story in color, I would recommend this one wholeheartedly. Rating 5 out of 5 stars with the title of Epic. Bugs Bunny nips the nips. I just feel like a racist bastard for even saying the title. Anyway, this is a war propaganda cartoon featuring Bugs landing on an island occupied by Japanese soldiers. And yeah, it is racist as hell. Not only do the Japanese characters have thick accents and exaggerated slant eyes, but there's also quite a bit of racial slurs used in it. Actually, half of these stereotypes belong more to Chinese people than Japanese people. Can't even get racism right. But the tragedy of all this is, it's actually not a bad cartoon. Most of the jokes are pretty damn good. The bomb gag is by far the best one. Sure, I would have liked to actually see some of the slapstick, but I do like the creative ways Bugs takes out the Japanese soldiers. I even like the ending. It has Bugs hating peace and quiet and wanting off the island. He only stays on when a sexy female rabbit comes in. Now, it's not my favorite Bugs cartoon, but it's surprisingly kind of enjoyable. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Swooner Crooner. So basically, this premise of this cartoon is that Porky is running a farm for hens to lay eggs for the war effort. What is going to be done to them is not ever said, and frankly, I don't even want to know. Anyway, a crooner chicken comes in, and the hens fall head over heels for him. Believe it or not, that still happens today. So when they stop working, Porky decides to hire another crooner to help them work. They end up working together. Interestingly, I kind of like what they did here. What I got from this cartoon is, it is saying that it is possible to mix business with pleasure. And I so wish more businesses would subscribe to that philosophy. The thing is, the thing that keeps me from considering this my favorite is that some of the implications of the egg laying are pretty fucking disturbing if you think about them for a long time. But this is still a pretty decent cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Russian Rhapsody. This is another war propaganda cartoon, and a fucking good one too. The premise is that Hitler plans to bomb Russia. But on the plane flight, there's a bunch of gremlins that sneak on board the plane and tear it apart piece by piece. It is actually pretty fucking funny when they do, and they sing a song with some damn good energy. There's also some really fucking good slapstick. The Gremlins from the Kremlin is a really damn good pun, even for someone who thinks most puns are lame. Anyway, this is an overlooked cartoon that is really good. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Duck Soup to Nuts. This is actually a really fucking good one. While there's not a whole lot of slapstick, what really makes this good is the writing. There are so many fucking good quotes in it that if I were to name them, we would be here all day. I really like the underwater gag as well. Admittedly, afterward it kind of crawls, but the ending gag is really goddamn good, and not at all what I expected. Daffy clearly guilt trips Porky, but this is probably the best cartoon when Daffy and Porky are fighting each other. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Angel Puss. Another one that's censored 11. Oh joy. This is by far the worst fucking censored 11 cartoon, and the most racist. The blackface character is forced to drown a kitten. Another cat dresses up as an angel cat, and for no other reason than to fuck with him. This cartoon fails because this man already felt guilty about doing that shit. The annoyance is just so fucking cruel. It also has a goddamn tasteless gag where the cat uses a pair of dice to lure the blackface guy in. This cat is a total bastard. I legitimately believe this cartoon hates African Americans. I have never believed it more with any other of the censored 11 than I do here. I thought the ending might have been a saving grace where the blackface guy shoots the black cat, but they managed to fuck that up with sending the 9 angel lives to punish him even more. Fuck this cartoon. Rating 0 out of 5 stars with the title of complete bullshit. Slightly Daffy. This is like a color remake of Scalp Trouble. I don't think this cartoon is as good, but it's still pretty damn good. There's plenty of fucking good slapstick gags going on with Daffy, Porky, and the rest of the army fighting the Indians. Most of the gags are pretty much the same from that cartoon, but they're really fucking good gags. If you really want to see a colored remake of Scalp Trouble, I highly recommend this cartoon. It's pretty fucking good. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Hair Ribbon. This is actually a pretty fucking good cartoon. I guess I really like the ones where Bugs goes up against stupid dogs. Anyway, this is the first instance of Bugs cross-dressing. He disguises himself as a mermaid. It is a really fucking funny gag. There is also some damn good slapstick. I also really like the gag with Bugs pretending to be a waiter and serving the dog a rabbit sandwich. But the ending gag is really dark. It is a suicide joke. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I thought it was actually pretty fucking funny. Anyway, good cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Brother Brad. This one is alright. It's another one of these cartoons that has Porky so close to beating up an infant. But it actually starts out with some war propaganda. The premise is that a woman is working to build planes for the war effort, but she has to find someone to watch over her baby while she's working. That person is Porky. Now, to be honest, the gags are not as good as the previous cartoons, but there are a few good ones, like the This Means War gag, and actually the ending gag are surprisingly kind of fucking dark, but I love it. Overall, not one of my favorites, but still decent. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Hair Force. This one is pretty damn good. It has Bugs fighting with a dog again, but this time it's with a brown dog named Sylvester. It's also during the winter time. Sylvester is pissed because the owner found Bugs and made Bugs sleep in his spot. There's not as much slapstick, but when it does come up, it is pretty fucking satisfying. It also has the whole thing with Bugs guilt-tripping his enemies again. But the ending gag is really fucking good. I guess I really do like the ones where Bugs fights a dog. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. From Hand to Mouse. This entire cartoon is about a mouse trying to trick a dumbass lion. The mouse takes advantage of the lion's stupidity. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's kind of funny the first few times, but afterward, it kind of gets old. After a while, I started to think, come on man, stop falling for the mouse's trick. Not a fan of the racial stereotype jokes, but I do like the dumbass ape joke that comes in the latter half of the cartoon. The ending gag is pretty good, so I will say this one is decent. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Birdie and the Beast. Another cartoon to feature the earlier version of Tweety. This one is not quite as good as A Tale of Two Kitties, but it has its moments. The part when the cat is all like, you didn't know I could fly. Fly! Is probably the best part of this whole fucking cartoon. The biggest problem I have with it is there's not really as much slapstick as that other cartoon. Even when it does come up, it's always shown off screen. Slapstick doesn't work if you can't see it. But there were some moments that made me laugh, and I enjoyed the more violent and sadistic Tweeties, so I will say it was worth seeing. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Buckaroo Bugs. This is a pretty damn good Western cartoon. It has the red-hot writer who is really fucking dumb, but he is going up against Bugs. It is interesting to see Bugs take on more of a villainous role this time. But what makes it all work is you can root for either character and you will be satisfied in some way. Red Hot Rider technically figured it out that, and Bugs had his fucking fun with him. Most of the gags are pretty damn good. The reveal of how Bugs set up a robbery is one of my personal favorites. The ending with the canyons is also really good. I don't really have that much to say about this one. It's a good one and it is worth checking out. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Goldilocks and the Jivin' Bears. This was the final one of the Censored 11. Thank Odin I won't have to deal with them anymore. Anyway, this is like a racist version of the fairy tale cartoons that I've watched. But really the only offensive things in here are the big lips and the exaggerated accents. I guess I really do like the energy when the jazz music comes in. I guess I also do like the Goldilocks character, but the ending is really fucking weird. So overall, not one of my personal favorites. The saddest part about all this is that going to heaven on a mule is way more offensive than really any of the cartoons that ended up on the Censored 11. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK But Lacks Staying Power. Plain Daffy, another war propaganda cartoon featuring Daffy. This time he's up against a seductive female duck working for Hitler. This one is not quite as good as some of the other Daffy war propaganda cartoons, but it has its moments. I really do like some of the rhyming dialogue in the beginning. I'm not sure about some of the gags in the middle, and the climax is not as good as the other ones, but the ending punchline is fucking hilarious. So overall, a pretty decent cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Lost and Foundling. It's another Sniffles cartoon. This one is not as bad as the last Sniffles cartoon, but it's still not that great. I really fucking hate his new voice, and the story starts out really bad. It gets a little bit more interesting later on. The premise is that Sniffles has to care for a baby hawk. But when the hawk grows up, he finds that he is his type that eats mice. The premise is that even if he did eat Sniffles, I wouldn't care. I think the ending was kind of clever, but they fucked it up with the very last shot. I don't know what the hit critic sees in these later Sniffles cartoons. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK But Lacks Staying Power. Booby Hatched. This one is not that great. While I do like the winter aesthetic and some of the jokes in the middle are kind of funny, the things that stand out to me are some of its more rubbish qualities. I don't really like the story. It's just a typical duck getting separated from his mother story. The beginning is really slow. It also has a really fucking weird ending gag. Even the middle parts are not enough to make me say this is worth checking out. So yeah, this one is also mediocre. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK But Lacks Staying Power. The Old Gray Hair. Oh boy, this is another review where I might piss a lot of people off, but I really didn't care for this one. The biggest problem I have with this one is probably the plot. It has Elmer go into the far future, more specifically the year 2000. Although credit where it's due, I do like the joke of the smell-o-vision replacing television. It's funnier now because that actually never happened in the year 2000. But the main problem is that both Bugs and Elmer age as they go into the future. It has Bugs guilt-tripping Elmer again, and then has him being blown up by dynamite. But most of these jokes come off as more uncomfortable than anything. Actually, this whole cartoon is uncomfortable. I guess if you're a real fucking sadist, you might like it, but this one is just not for me. Ugh. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK But Lacks Staying Power. The Stupid Cupid. This is an interesting cartoon to say the least. I guess it goes to show how terrifying the concept of Cupid really is. What if Cupid shot an arrow at you and the person you fell in love with doesn't love you back? Or what if they're already in love with someone else? These are questions that this cartoon provides. What is interesting is that Daffy doesn't really want to be shot with by the love arrows that Cupid shoots. The last time it happened, it made his life miserable, and he was not happy. I do have to dox it some points for being really fucking cruel, because he still gets shot with the arrows, and it does not have a satisfying ending. But the ideas are present, and it may or may not be trying to say that love is overrated. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Stage Door Cartoon. This is actually a pretty damn good cartoon. There are plenty of great gags, most of which revolve around Bugs fucking with Elmer, but this time at a stage show. The image of Bugs dancing with a top hat is very memorable. The piano gag is by far my favorite gag. It has some really fucking good slapstick. The part when Elmer doing a stunt into a cup of water is also really good. Even the ending gag is not what I expected. So overall, a really fucking good Bugs cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Adorable Kitty. This is the first cartoon to feature Pepe Le Pew. I'm actually going to save my thoughts on the controversy for the next Pepe cartoon because I feel it's not really relevant to this cartoon. This is actually one of the more tame Pepe cartoons. He doesn't even appear till the halfway mark. Anyway, the premise is that a cat is tired of being beat up by people and cats, so he disguises himself as a skunk so that people will leave him alone. I actually kind of like this storyline, and it has a good setup, but it actually kind of loses its edge when Pepe comes in. The gags are so fucking repetitive, and they're not that funny to begin with. But the ending gags are so insulting. The problem is that the cat decides to embrace his life of people beating him up for no reason. Please explain to me how the hell that is a satisfying ending. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Hair Meets Hair. So this is a war propaganda cartoon featuring Bugs. It's not as good as it sounds. A lot of the earlier gags are pretty slow and not that funny. Although I will give credit and say that there is some slapstick, but not enough to be satisfying. I also like the whole thing of Bugs disguising himself as a Viking woman and the German guy donning a Viking setup. But the ending where the German guy brings Bugs to Hitler is kind of a what the fuck moment. Yeah, this cartoon could have been a lot better than it actually is. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Drafty Daffy. This is an interesting cartoon to say the least. I think it is trying to be a critique of conscription in the USA, but the Hayes office kind of prevents it from being that. Daffy is shown to be very patriotic, and I could see this cartoon as having a balanced mindset if it wasn't for the ending, but I will get to that. There is some explosive slapstick in here. The critique of conscription is contradicted by the ending, where Daffy is sent to hell. They don't outright say it in the cartoon, but it is clearly hell. I want to give this 3 stars because it has some good elements and some entertaining moments, but I can't because it's another cartoon ruined by the Hayes office. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. The Unruly Hair. Finally we have a good one. It's been a long fucking time. Anyway, there's plenty of fucking great slapstick, and even some sexual gags in the beginning. I mean, it's done by Frank Tashlin, so it's kind of understandable. He really loves sexual jokes. I guess if there's any flaws, it would be that Elmer sings Working on the Railroad in a pretty fucking annoying voice. and that some of the gags in the middle are not the best, but Bugs is annoyed by it too, and the gags start getting better, and not what I expected at all, but that is a damn good sign. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Trap Happy Porky. This one is not the greatest, but it has some good moments. I like how Porky hires a cat to take out the mice who are eating all the food in the kitchen, and it's actually pretty successful at doing it. Once again, the mice are clearly portrayed as villains. That will never not be cathartic. Anyway, the cartoon kind of crawls when the cat invites other cats to sing with him in a pretty fucking annoying way. Porky gets a dog to stop them, but he joins the singing. But with no options left, Porky decides to join them all in singing. I think this is kind of a nice ending. There are better cartoons, but this one is still worth watching. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Life with Feathers. Believe it or not, this is actually not that bad of a cartoon. It is the first appearance of Sylvester, and what a dark one to start with. I say this because it is about a bird who wants to get eaten by Sylvester. He basically wants to kill himself. But the gags are actually pretty fucking good. Sylvester thinks the bird is poisoned because the bird is just willingly prepared to eat him. It has great use of dramatic irony. We know he is not poisoned. But eventually Sylvester doesn't care anymore and starts to want to eat him. I am very aromantic, so admittedly I can't really relate to the bird's depression, but I kind of do have a pitch black sense of humor, and this is why I kind of enjoyed this one. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Behind the Meatball. This is a decent cartoon. This is another cartoon that reflects the shortage of meat during World War II at home. But man, the owner of the dog treats him like fucking garbage in this cartoon. She feeds him this gross-ass fucking vegan food. Doesn't she know that will actually make dogs sick? Dogs are mostly carnivores and need meat to survive. Anyway, once the dog finds some meat given out by other dogs, given out by truck, other dogs steal it from him, and he thinks it is a mirage like the other times. When he realizes it's not, he goes out to get it. There's some decent slapstick. I'm not sure how I feel about the ending, but it's a decent cartoon that is worth checking out at least once. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Hair Trigger. Finally, we have a damn good Western cartoon. It took them until the mid-fucking decade to make some good ones. This is also the first appearance of Yosemite Sam. The cartoon has some really fucking good shooting and creative cartoon gags. There's also there's even some live-action shots at certain parts. But I find how Bugs constantly fucks with Sam absolutely hysterical. It also has a pretty fucking great fourth wall break of an ending. Some really good shit. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Ain't That Ducky. This one is not the greatest, but it still has some damn good gags, most of which come from Daffy. However, the biggest problem I have with this cartoon is that little yellow duck. He is a cocksucker. He cries, but then yells at our heroes for no good reason and tries to sabotage them also for no good reason. He just cries like a bitch and then is really cruel. I can't stand these goddamn people. Anyway, there is some slapstick and the ending punchline is really good though. So the yellow duck has a thing in his suitcase, but and they don't know what's in it. But once Daffy and the hunter find what it is in it, it is revealed that it's just a note that says "The End." The cartoon even ends without the "That's all, folks" written in, and instead of that, it just says "The End." What a nice touch. Not the greatest, but still worth checking out. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. A Gruesome Twosome. Another Tweety cartoon. This is actually a pretty fucking good one. It has the original violent and sadistic energy that I just can't get enough of. Some really fucking good slapstick. Sure, the beginning has the cats fighting for the love of the female cat, but that plotline is dropped once Tweety enters the cartoon. Yeah, it never comes back. Honestly, wouldn't have it any other way. Besides, I'm a romantic and I don't really give a fuck. But yeah, this is a goddamn great cartoon. Rating 5 out of 5 stars with the title of Epic. Tale of Two Mice. This is a decent one. It has two mice who are named Babbitt and Catcello, obviously a parody of Abbott and Costello. But the whole point of the cartoon is to see Catcello fail at getting cheese from the cat. I do like the jackass joke. There's some slapstick in here too. It's not as funny as some of the other cartoons, and I'm not sure how I feel about the ending, but it is definitely a decent cartoon that is very reminiscent, that is a little bit reminiscent of Tom and Jerry. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Wagon Heels. This is basically a color remake of the 1938 version of Engine Trouble. I have to say though, this one is better than the original. It has a lot more action. There's a pretty fucking good shootout with the Americans trying to get Injun Joe. There's also a part when Injun Joe manages to fucking scare the shit out of a bear. The part when the guy who reveals the secret from the original is much better, because we actually get to see Joe fall into the hole and make the whole country of the USA again. Literally. It is a damn good gag, and ending in general. So yeah, this is a pretty good one. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Hair Conditioned. This one is alright. It's about Bugs being chased by a guy who wants to turn Bugs into a stuffed animal. It has some decent gags. I like the part when Bugs and the hunter go into rooms and have the title of them, and they get clothing from related to that room. The elevator gag is also good and reminiscent of Page Miss Glory. It was kind of clever. The problems I have with it are that there's not a whole lot of slapstick, and the ending is really goddamn weird. But it's worth seeing at least once. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Fresh Airedale. This cartoon is just way too cruel. It has a dog who does some pretty fucking heinous actions, like eating all the food and not letting the cat have any of it. But the problem is the dog gets praised for it. Whenever the cat tries to do something good, like trying to save the house from being torn apart, he's either ignored or shunned. I've actually been in the cat's shoes, and because I've had that life experience, this cartoon hurts. It brings up the commentary, but there's no satisfying payoff. Like, the dog only does good things to be the #1 dog. I know that there are people who only take a moral stance to get some sort of status, but people who actually do good are ignored or shunned by society. What's the point? Maybe because I've had to deal with that a lot in life, it just hits too close to home for me to enjoy. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK Black Staying Power. The Bashful Buzzard. This one is not my favorite, but it has some good elements about it. Now, the beginning blatantly reuses the same opening as Bugs Bunny Gets the Boyd, but I do like the gags revolving around the animals that the other buzzards get. They get animals like cows, horses, and elephants, and a really good Dumbo joke. I'm not a fan of the sheep that the Bashful Buzzard gets, but the joke of him getting the dinosaur was pretty good. In fact, I will say the whole ending is pretty good. In fact, it is what ultimately led me to say that this is worth seeing at least once. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Pack Up Your Troubles. This is a pretty decent cartoon. It has Sylvester back and this time he's going after a woodpecker. This cartoon has no dialogue. It just has some slapstick gags. Most of these are pretty good. I guess the only one that I don't like is the whole thing with the woodpecker disguising himself as an angel to make Sylvester feel guilty. That joke does have diminishing returns. I'm also not a fan of the cats being the villains, but despite that, there are some funny gags. I really do like the part when Sylvester gets electrocuted and turned into many things, and the dynamite gag at the end was also pretty good. So this was a decent cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Hair Tonic. This is at least an interesting cartoon. It has Bugs fucking with Elmer for literally no reason. But this time, he's making him think he has a disease called rabbititis. Now, if you think I would hate this cartoon for being too dark, you would be wrong. Because what softens it for me is that it is not a real disease. At least I don't think it is. Yeah, I will admit it's not the funniest cartoon ever, but the fourth wall break joke at the end was genuinely pretty good. It actually made me laugh, and even I like how Bugs is the one who comes out with the drum at the end instead of Porky. So yeah, a decent cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Nasty Quacks. This is actually a pretty fucking good cartoon. It has Daffy fucking around with a guy who finds him really goddamn annoying. But I think what makes it all work is that Daffy is actually trying to entertain the guy's daughter who loves his antics. It is actually kind of sweet of him to do that, and this is probably his most noble moment. But of course, it also has some damn good slapstick in there as well. I gotta knock some points for the ending. Not that it's completely awful, but there are some parts that made me a little uncomfortable. But to me, it's kind of like a coy decoy, so it doesn't really ruin the cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Book review. This is one of those pictures of books coming to life cartoons, but it is really just a throwback to the harmonizing cartoons, the ones with a lot of singing and dancing. There really is not a whole lot of substance. Even the appearance of Daffy Duck didn't really add that much to the cartoon. All he does is sing in a Mexican voice. It's not as entertaining as it sounds. The wolf chase is kind of clever, but not enough to make this cartoon good. It's not horrible, but it's not nearly as good as the previous ones. Especially the last one. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Baseball Bugs. This is a pretty fucking good one. It's about Bugs playing baseball. That's the whole damn premise. But the gags are really fucking good. Some highlights would include the parts when Bugs plays both the roles of pitcher and catcher. The Bat Boy gag, the part when Bugs uses a sexy pinup girl to distract a rival teammate, and plenty of slapstick. The ending gag is also really good, is really fucking wild. But for the first time in a long time, it's weird in a good way. So yeah, a good cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Holiday for Shoestrings. This is another interesting one. It is basically about a bunch of little people creating holes for shoes and hammering in the nails, but it's set to the music of the Nutcracker. It is done entirely without dialogue. I will admit the first part of the cartoon is boring, but with some weak gags. But by the end, there's a little bit of slapstick, and the gags started to get better. A little weird, but still better. It is mainly interesting from an artistic point of view. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Quentin Quayle. This one I want to like more than I do. It has a good idea. It is about two chickens struggling to catch a worm. The father worm has a good voice and dynamic with his daughter. He does try to let the daughter try to get the worm, but even if it backfires on her. I thought the fight he gets into with a black duck, which once again is not Daffy, was interesting. There's some decent fighting gags, when it goes on. But the ending gag is really fucking bad and ruins the cartoon. Basically, the daughter doesn't want to eat the worm because it looks like Frank Sinatra. The joke doesn't work because the worm looks nothing like Frank Sinatra, and it kind of ruins any accomplishment the chicken's got. I feel like I'm being cheated out. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Baby Bottleneck. Oh, no. This is just a Baby Factory cartoon. I'm not even fucking joking. I don't give a fuck if this was during the baby boom. In fact, that probably makes it more uncomfortable. I guess it's marginally better than Shuffle Off to Buffalo. I thought the alligator and the pig joke was kind of funny. I also relate to the stork and Daffy not wanting to sit on a fucking egg. But the ending is so goddamn insulting and not funny at fucking all. Frankly, I don't even want to talk about this one anymore. Rating 1 out of 5 stars with the title of Horrible. Hair Remover. This is a fine one. It's certainly much better than the last one. The premise is that Elmer is trying to use experimental substance to change creatures into crazy devil beings. But what I do like about this cartoon is that it is a little ambiguous if it works or not. It probably didn't work the way he intended it, but Bugs, who drinks it, actually acts pretty crazy afterward. Elmer even drinks it and does the same thing as Bugs. The whole chase with the bear was kind of amusing. I don't think this cartoon is amazing. The slapstick is very scarce and the writing is not spectacular, but it's still enjoyable. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Daffy Doodles. This is actually a pretty fucking good cartoon. It's about Daffy painting mustaches on everyone. Basically, it's about Daffy being a graffiti artist. He does it for fun, and that's really the only thing he does in this cartoon. You actually kind of start rooting for Daffy instead of Porky, who is the police officer trying to take him down. Porky is just wasting his goddamn time going after a graffiti artist instead of going after criminals doing shit that is much worse. There's some pretty fucking good slapstick in here too, but the ending gag when Daffy is in court is really fucking funny and not what I expected at all. This cartoon will bring out the rebel in you, or just make you laugh really hard. One of the two. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Hollywood Canine Canteen. This is a compilation of gags surrounding both show business and in general and dogs. A fucking weird combination, and it doesn't really have anything to do with Hollywood. Now, to be honest, most of the jokes are not that funny. The only jokes I kind of like were the crooner joke, the one with the dog crying, and the sailor dog joke. But those are very few in a long line of boring gags. Even the ending one was pretty weak. This one is mid at best. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Hush My Mouse. This was the last cartoon to feature Sniffles, but it oddly focuses a lot more on a couple of New Yorker cats than Sniffles himself, and I honestly prefer that. Although the biggest problem I do have with this cartoon is that whenever Sniffles comes on screen, I get annoyed, because he does his usual talking too fucking much stick, and I have never been a fan of that. I also don't really know who to root for. The cartoon didn't exactly make that clear. The ending punchline is a little funny, but not enough to redeem this cartoon. I'm honestly fucking thrilled that I won't have to deal with Sniffles anymore. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Hair Raising Hair. This is a pretty fucking good Bugs cartoon. It is also the first appearance of Gossamer, the silent red monster. I really do dig the gothic atmosphere and the bit with the fucking mechanical female rabbit. It also has some pretty fucking good slapstick in here as well. The writing in the dialogue is pretty damn good. Well, for the most part. I didn't care for the part when Bugs says his prayers, but there are some really goddamn good gags after that, so I can't complain. The ending gags are also really fucking good. It is another good cartoon to watch on Halloween. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Kitty Cornered. This one is alright. It is another cartoon where Porky is being annoyed by fucking cats again. But this time one of them is Sylvester. It has some decent slapstick, but not as much as some of the other cartoons. I'm not sure who to root for, but there is a decent gag surrounding Martians. The cat makes it seem like the news stated that Martians are coming down to Earth. They also trick Porky into thinking that they are in his house. The climax is not as good as it could have been. The ending is a little insulting depending on who you're rooting for, but I will say... But what I am saying is it sounds a lot worse though than the way I mean it. I really do appreciate the energy that it has, and it is definitely better than Hush My Mouse. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Hollywood Daffy. This one is like a watered down version of Daffy Duck in Hollywood. Most of the beginning gags are not that great. It mostly revolves around Daffy trying to get into Hollywood but getting thrown out, and or fucking with a cop. I do like the tour guide gag and the part when he plays the director and makes the cop act out his scene. But the ending is not that funny, except for the part when Daffy kisses a star, which is not what I expected. Is it funny enough to make it worth watching? I wouldn't go that far. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK Black Staying Power. Acrobatty Bunny. This is a pretty fucking good one. This is like a much better version of Hold the Line Please. It is about Bugs trying to fall asleep but can't because there's a lot of fucking noise because of the circus. I feel Bugs' pain. Sorry, got a notification. So I instantly cheer him on when he goes all out ballistic on the lion, who is partially responsible for the noise. There's a lot of really fucking good slapstick, and it's just so damn charming. There is something about the circus setting that, to me, that is always charming, that I can't explain. Maybe it's because it is supposed to entertain you. Whatever, this is a pretty fucking good cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. The Eager Beaver. It's a cartoon about beavers, but it ain't that bad. One gag that got my attention was when the narrator says, the beavers dam the river. Well, when he says it, the beavers say something that the text makes you think it's blankety blank, but they're really saying dam. But the narrator says, no, the other dam. Fucking Hayes office. Anyway, some of the gags when the beavers are cutting down the trees are good and energetic. Admittedly, the ending gags are not that great, but they're not insulting, and I think this cartoon is overall decent. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. The Great Piggy Bank Robbery. This is a pretty damn good cartoon. It is about Daffy, who is a big fan of Dick Tracy. He is such a big fucking fan that he wants to be Dick Tracy. But he soon finds out he is Dick Tracy. He is Duck Tracy, which is pretty much the same fucking thing. He refuses to find out about stolen piggy banks until he finds that there are a ton of fucking piggy banks stolen, including his. That was a goddamn genius move. The climax when Daffy faces all the monstrous bastards is so fucking entertaining with some good action, and the ending punchline is actually not that bad. So overall, a good Daffy cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. The Call to Arms. This is another theater parody. The Warmer Pictures is a parody of the MGM logo, which is kind of clever. Not the biggest fan of the radar detects the mother-in-law joke, but it is actually but the whole bit with the parodies of Lauren Bacall and Humphrey Bogart are kind of amusing. I especially like the wolf getting all horny for Lori Be Cool, which is the parody for the former. Her walking and setting the floor on fire and the firefighters putting it out was a nice touch. It does end with a pretty racially insensitive joke, which does sour my opinion a little bit, but overall it's decent. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Of Thee I Sting. This feels like a war propaganda cartoon with flies. This is odd because World War II already ended at the time this cartoon came out. I guess they wanted to keep the fighting spirit. Anyway, this cartoon is very mockumentary. Mockumentary-like in its tone, and there are some decent training gags in here. The ending attack when the flies fly in on the human is surprisingly kind of exciting. The ending gag is kind of a what the fuck moment, and it is pretty weird, but overall it ain't too bad of a cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Walkie Talkie Hockey. This is a pretty fucking good cartoon. Henry Hawk is back, but this is also the first appearance of both the Barnyard Dog and Foghorn Leghorn. It is once again about Henry trying to eat some chicken, but Foghorn tricks Henry into eating the Barnyard Dog. It has way more fucking slapstick and some more memorable visuals. But once Henry finds out that the Barnyard Dog is not a chicken, the fight between Foghorn and the Barnyard Dog doesn't stop ever in this cartoon. I fucking love that they did that. They then try to beat the shit out of each other inside the barn. Henry then grabs the horse inside the barn, who is holding Foghorn and the Barnyard Dog, and he knows that one of them is a chicken. But we all know which one it is. Foghorn. Fucking genius. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Racketeer Rabbit. This is a pretty decent cartoon. Now, it's not my favorite, but it's still pretty decent. I guess I like the idea of Bugs fucking with a gangster. It makes Bugs a little bit more likable than he was with Elmer in earlier versions. Sure, some of the gags in the middle were honestly not very good, but the ending when the gangster is trapped in the box and Bugs impersonates a fellow gangster and a cop is really good. And has some. That gag is really good, and it has some damn good slapstick. The bomb was also a really nice touch. This one's fine. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Fair and Warmer. This one, I feel like there's too much shit going on. We have a dog chasing a cat, and the same cat chasing a bird, and the bird is going after a worm. That is way too much to have in a cartoon. I will admit, it is kind of clever that there's almost no dialogue when this happens. Or it would have been if the gags were funny, but a lot of them are pretty weak. The silent cameo from Pepe adds nothing to the cartoon. It's not a bad cartoon, but it's still pretty mediocre. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. The Big Snooze. So the premise of this one is that Elmer is getting tired of Bugs fucking with him constantly and rips up his contract with Warner Brothers and quits. Pretty genius way of doing it, by the way. So he decides to go fishing, but when Elmer takes a nap, Bugs makes him take some sleeping pills. Bugs sneaks into his dreams. A pretty weird way of doing it, but hey, cartoons can do anything. The ending has Elmer go back to wanting his job because of the nightmare. It is a good way of ending it, but Bugs' final line is, "I love that guy." Really, you do? That is what will keep me from calling it the best, but it's a decent watch. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Mesmerized Cat. This is actually a pretty decent cartoon. It has Babette and Catsello as mice again. But this time, Babette tries to hypnotize Catsello into getting rid of a cat. There are some decent gags surrounding this. Babbitt tries to hypnotize Catcello into being a dog to scare off the cat. It actually works for at least for a little bit, but the ending gag when Catcello hypnotizes both Babbitt and the cat is pretty entertaining. I won't say this is the best cartoon, but it is kind of entertaining, and sometimes that's all we need. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Mouse Menace. I'm not the biggest fan of this one. The whole joke of the cartoon is that Porky hires a cat to take out a mouse, but the mouse always finds a way to fuck them up. It is a joke that gets old really fast. Things get a little bit more interesting when Porky builds a robot cat. It seems to be virtually indestructible, but the ending is all kinds of insulting. I don't really consider this one awful, but it more often than not aggravated me, partially because of my hatred of mice. Maybe I would have been more willing to praise it if the ending was different. As is, it's pretty mediocre. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK but lacks staying power. Rhapsody Rabbit. This is actually a pretty fucking good cartoon. Yeah, it's kind of a ripoff of the Cat Concerto from Tom and Jerry, but I don't give a fuck. It has Bugs as a concert pianist, but he has to deal with a mouse that constantly keeps fucking annoying him. But what makes it all work is that there's some really damn good slapstick, and some really good music that manages to never sound off key, which is fucking amazing already. Even better, there's no dialogue during this. Even the ending gag didn't in any way piss me off, which is a major improvement over the last cartoon. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Roughly Squeaking. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I may piss some people off with this opinion, but I don't really like Hubie and Bertie. I don't really find their sadistic behavior charming or funny. I find it insulting that the cartoons that feature them frame them as heroes, yet they're clearly doing shit that villains would do. In this cartoon, they trick a cat into thinking he's a lion. At least, they acknowledge that lions are part of the cat family. However, they make him roar but all he can do is meow. The joke doesn't work because lions actually do meow. Lions actually make a wide variety of sounds, but the majority of the jokes revolve around making the dog think he's an animal that lions eat. It gets dumber as it goes along, and it ends with a pretty weird joke. I guess if you really like Hubie and Bertie, you might like this one, but this one didn't really do much for me. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK but lacks staying power. One Meat Brawl. I'm not the biggest fan of this one either. Now, I do like the idea. It is about Porky and his dog hunting a groundhog. There are some decent slapstick gags. It even has the groundhog tripping the dog and even Porky at one point. This is a cartoon I would have liked if it wasn't for the ending. They start fighting, but then all lay on the couch so that nobody gets hurt. I didn't find that gag funny. I found it weird and disappointing. Yeah, it could have been a lot better. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK but lacks staying power. The Goofy Gophers. I just realized this. This is one of the few cartoons to introduce a new characters that actually is named after the new characters it introduced. But anyway, it's a really fucking good cartoon. I actually really like the Goofy Gophers. What makes them better than Hubie and Bertie is that they never get too cruel to the dog, and the main reason they're doing what they do is for food. Hubie and Bertie are just tormenting their enemies for no fucking reason. They're also surprisingly polite to each other, but the real reason why this cartoon is so goddamn good is because it has lots of fucking great slapstick action, and it just made me laugh consistently. That should have been happening more often recently. But the ending gag has a cameo from Bugs, which is a nice touch. And it's just a damn good gag. So yeah, highly recommended. Rating 5 out of 5 stars with the title of Epic. The Gay Aunties. This cartoon is actually pretty decent. This is another cartoon with no dialogue, unless you count the ants speaking, but the dialogue is incomprehensible, so I don't really count that. They also have weird voices. I think those are kind of the point of the cartoon. I will admit, the beginning is kind of boring, but once the ants start stealing the picnic food, it gets a little bit better. There were some mildly amusing jokes in here, but the best joke is the one when one of the female ants when she's getting dressed uses 2 berries to give her big tits and a big ass. I'm shocked that the Hayes office let that one slide. It's not the best cartoon, but it's kind of enjoyable. It is much better than any of the Inky cartoons. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Sentimental Over You. Okay, time to rip the band-aid off. Pepe Le Pew has gotten a lot of controversy in recent times. His case got so bad that he was actually removed from Space Jam: A New Legacy. Though considering how much that movie was hated when that was released, I don't think his inclusion would have made the movie much better. So how do I feel about the controversy? Well, it is one of those cases where I agree with both sides of the argument. On the one hand, rape is not funny. It is fucking horrifying, and it is more likely to get you a criminal record than a wife. Maybe Pepe is a character that is better off left in the past. He wasn't even that popular back in the day. He only had 12 cartoons with a starring role. That is a far cry from Bugs and especially Daffy. On the other hand, Pepe was clearly meant to be a parody of the romantic lead in movies during the 1940s and 1950s. Sometimes those men can be pretty creepy and women still find them charming somehow. Pepe was intended to answer the question, what if a male lead was repulsive to women? Come to think of it, I wouldn't really consider any Looney Tunes character a paragon of virtue. Even the characters we're supposed to root for can be very violent and sadistic, and even gaslight their enemies. But we still usually find something to like about them. But as for the cartoon itself, I do like that the dog is searching for love, and no dog wants to be with her, but because she looks like a skunk. But Pepe is the one who wants to be with her. This would have been a really nice idea, that the option that you turn down might actually be an opportunity you can't miss. The problem is that it is done with love, and a partner disrespecting your boundaries is generally not a good opportunity. The ending gag would have been really sweet if it wasn't for the final twist. I will say this cartoon is much better than I expected, but I still felt really fucking uncomfortable watching it, and I'm not alone on that. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of OK Black Staying Power. A Hair Grows in Manhattan. This one is alright. It's about Bugs telling the story of how he outsmarted some stupid dogs in the city. I'm not the biggest fan of the baby-related gags, but there is some damn good slapstick in here. I thought the part when Bugs repeatedly sings "Dogpile on the baby" was pretty funny. The pie joke was also pretty good. They even managed to pull a good "this little piggy" joke. The ending was kind of weird, but overall it ain't too bad. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Birth of a Notion. This is actually a pretty damn good Daffy cartoon. It is about Daffy not wanting to fly south again, but finding that staying is more trouble than it's worth. It is very similar to Daffy's Southern Exposure. It's not as good as that one, but it's still pretty good. Daffy tries to stay with a dog, but the dog tries to hide from his owner. The dog says that the owner wouldn't like it, but you find out that the owner would. So yeah, the dog fucking lied. You will also find that the owner is a pretty fucking terrible owner. He wants to use animal parts to create fucking poison. There's also some pretty fucking good slapstick when he chases Daffy. But he resorts to using the dog's fishbone when he can't get Daffy. I won't spoil the ending gag, but it is pretty good. Overall, a good one. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Tweety Pie. Now we have Tweety Bird, who is closer to what we typically envision him as. He is now yellow and has a more cutesy quality to him. To be really honest, I preferred his older personality. Making Tweety more cute just makes me want to root for Thomas instead. Oh, by the way, Thomas looks like Sylvester, but he's named Thomas in this cartoon. Also, Thomas's owner treats him like shit. She denies him a meal and clearly favors Tweety over him. That is not funny, that is depressing. She even makes him kiss and make up. Unlike Birth of a Notion, the cartoon pretends her behavior is justified. The ending does have a little bit of the older Tweety's violent antics, but not enough in my opinion. So yeah, it's mediocre. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Rabbit Transit. This is actually a pretty fucking good cartoon. It has Bugs facing Cecil Turtle again, but this time they make it a rule to not cheat at the race. Very fucking interesting. Anyway, the race itself is very goddamn entertaining, with some really fucking clever gags. And it actually is very nail-biting. The hot dog gag is definitely the hot dog gag was a definite standout. Or the part when Bugs rips apart the turtle's rocket, but Cecil says he wants to help him only to fix the rocket, which is not what Bugs wanted to do. Fucking genius. But one thing this cartoon does what the other cartoons where he races Cecil don't do is this. They actually have Bugs win the race this time. Sure, Cecil fucks up his victory, but that is more satisfying than the previous one, at least. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Hobo Bobo. This is an interesting cartoon, at least. It is about an elephant who wants to play baseball. It is told almost like a visual storybook with animation, with full narration and everything. Actually, it's more like a parody of visual storybooks. I could also see this as being kind of a parody of Dumbo, too. But by far the best gag in the cartoon is when the narrator almost says, Bobo was thwarted when he fell on his ass. I'm actually kind of digging the story. Alright, I was actually kind of digging this story and would have found it charming if it weren't for the ending. I just felt like I watched this whole fucking story for nothing. Rating 2 out of 5 stars with the title of Okay But Lacks Staying Power. Along Came Daffy. This is a pretty fucking good cartoon. It has another appearance from Yosemite Sam. He is with another guy who looks almost identical, but the only fucking difference that he has is that he has black hair instead of red. But they're also starving so much that they think about eating each other. What a fucking morbid thought. But when Daffy comes in, they decide to eat him. There's also some slapstick in here, which is always a goddamn nice touch. The best gags are when one of the men shoots the decoy ducks and then shoots Daffy, but under his skin was lingerie. How that got past the Hayes office, I don't fucking know. But the ending gag is literally just a, here we go again. That's all I need to say about it. Rating 4 out of 5 stars with the title of Awesome. Inky at the Circus. Much like the other Inky cartoons, this cartoon has no dialogue and has some nice animation and music. But unlike the other Inky cartoons, it actually has some decent slapstick and nice imagery. There are some scenes that I actually remember, and it even plays She Was an Acrobat's Daughter, which was a nice touch. I won't say this is the absolute best cartoon that I've seen, but I will say it's probably the strongest Inky cartoon yet. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. Easter Yeggs. While Easter is definitely one of my least favorite holidays, I have to admit, this cartoon ain't too bad. The premise is that Bugs takes over the Easter Bunny, who is always depressed when he has to send out eggs, which is an interesting take on the Easter Bunny, if I say so myself. The song that Bugs sings is both hilarious and charming. The Looney Tunes rabbit sending out the eggs. I don't know how it goes, but it's something like that. There's some slapstick, not as much as some of the other cartoons but we looked at, but it's there, and it will always be a fucking nice touch. The ending gag is also pretty damn good. So yeah, it's a decent cartoon. Rating 3 out of 5 stars with the title of Worth Watching. And that'll do it for part 5. So part 5 is probably the best part yet. I mean, we've got so many good cartoons now. I think there was only like 3 bad ones. That is a sign that we're really getting into the good shit. So anyway, I'm Spike Robot. If you like this video, you can subscribe to my channel, and feel free to support me on Patreon and take my class. See you next time on the Freedom Jingos.